John Cornyn, too, Republican, was all over her, not on Snowden, but on the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, the FISA court, and the warrants, and Tulsi's reversal, which, again, you tell me if you disagree, she had to reverse herself on the use of the FISA court and these warrants, or she never would have been, she had to have zero chance of getting confirmed. So she did an 11th hour, like, oh, I support it, even though I've been very against it, because they amended it and they made some changes that were acceptable. Literally, she might have just kissed her nomination goodbye if she hadn't said that. And so these senators were not accepting the reversal, and Republicans like the FISA court, they're now much more controversial under Trump and with MAGA, but old school George W. Bush Republicans love FISA. So John Cornyn is part of that crew. And here's a little bit of how he was bringing up the 702, this provision, which allows these behaviors under FISA. Watch.
Are you aware that overwhelmingly the courts that have looked at a challenge to Section 702 based on the Fourth Amendment and any potential warrant requirement have overwhelmingly said that the Fourth Amendment is not implicated by search of lawfully collected intelligence?
I am aware, yes, Senator.
What would be necessary to be shown in order to establish probable cause to a judge in order to obtain a warrant?
Again, Senator, that's not for me to say. That would be for you all to decide and for the Attorney General to weigh in on.
Do you know what the elements of probable cause are and whether that's a practical and workable solution?
This is the center of the debate, the high standard of probable cause that's required to get a warrant.
Where would the warrant be sought? Would it be in the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, or would it be in some other Article 3 court?
My understanding is that it would be in the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court.
Are you aware of the fact the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court has held that a warrant is not required?
I am aware.
I'm going to put him down for a no, too, Glenn. Am I wrong?
Probably not wrong, unfortunately. I do think he might actually get a yes vote from Senator Wyden, whose entire career has been about warning of the dangers of NSA spying on Americans without warrants. But Megyn,
it was like a Jekyll and Hyde from yesterday with RFKJ with him.
I know.
I was like,
I know. And there she was, agreeing with him, like, yes, the NSA has too many. But I just want people to understand what this issue is that they're debating. Since when is it a plank of the Republican Party or the American right that the federal government should have the right to spy on the communication of American citizens, which is what we're talking about here, without any warrants required by law? We all grow up studying the Bill of Rights and are taught that the Bill of Rights is what distinguishes our country from all the others. And I actually agree with that. I have a lot of critiques of the United States. I treat with reverence the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. The idea that the government can't spy on us without warrants is foundational to everything that we believe in. And here is John Cornyn on behalf of the Republican Party treating Tulsi Gabbard like she's unqualified for a position in government because she believes the government should only be able to spy on American citizens once they first get the warrants required by the Constitution and the law. And this is what I'm trying to say. You have a huge part of the Republican Party still who has to pretend and appease Donald Trump because he is by far the most popular person in the Republican Party. They're far more ideologically aligned with a lot of the establishment members of the Democratic Party than they are with Donald Trump and the people who worked so hard to get him elected and the ideology that he defended in order to be elected. And this is what you're seeing. Tulsi Gabbard isn't there because Chuck Schumer chose her. She's there because Donald Trump did. And now they're going to vote in secret, which gives them the ability to vote no without any real repercussions. And I do have a lot of concerns about her nomination and the fact that her nomination is endangered because she has been a longtime defender, both in the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, of the privacy rights of American citizens is mind-blowing to me, but so reflective of how Washington politics has changed in so many ways.
Now, I am nowhere near as neck deep on FISA as you are, but I do remember the Fox News days of defending the FISA court and the FISA warrants because we were post 9/11, we were very scared, and they were using the FISA court to try to get warrants on people they believe might be domestic terrorists, might be, going to let off a bomb. And so in that posture, I was like, great, do it, go for it. And I remember defending even the NSA program that Snowden, leaked on and you revealed in your reporting to some extent because they defended it by saying we weren't really spying on Americans. What we were doing was we would if a suspected foreign terrorist was talking to an American, then we would listen to the conversation. But you had to have that link. It wasn't just like, let's listen to Megyn and Glenn. It was, oh, Megyn's having a conversation with Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. Yes, we're tapping in, and we're not going to give her all of her Fourth Amendment rights before we do that. So can you take those 2 points on?
Yeah, so let's remember that the most dangerous part of American history was the Cold War in the 50s, 60s, 70s, in the 80s through the Reagan administration and then Bush 41. The entire time when the U.S. government, the NSA, the CIA were spying on phone calls, if they learned that they were spying on a foreign national and they began speaking to an American citizen, they would have to hang up the phone and go and get a warrant. We managed to win the Cold War despite the warrant requirement being honored against all those presidents. And the reason why that's necessary is because we found out in the mid-70s with the Church Committee that the CIA, the FBI, the NSA had been wildly abusing their spying power for years against political opponents for blackmail purposes. And the FISA court was an exception. It said, look, this isn't a real court. It's going to be in the DOJ. Only the government goes, and 99% of the cases you're going to get the warrant anyway, but the need to have to justify it at least provides some safeguards without actually impeding the executive branch's ability to spy. And as you say, it was only in the wake of 9/11 when George Bush and Dick Cheney said, we don't care what the law says, start spying even if it's on Americans without the warrants required by law. Lots of things happened right after 9/11, but we're far away from 9/11 now. People in both parties have said this is too dangerous to allow the government to do. The founders viewed the warrant requirement as absolutely central to securing a free country. Again, you can debate it, but the idea that Tulsi favors a warrant requirement for American citizens cannot possibly be disqualifying. The other part about the program that Snowden revealed, that's 702. The main program that he revealed that ended up being declared unconstitutional illegal was the fact that the NSA was collecting all of the information about all of our telephone calls, where we were, with whom we were speaking, for what duration, including by and among American citizens without warrants and in complete secrecy. And when you can find out the so-called metadata, meaning I called a HIV doctor, you called an abortion clinic, you're talking to some person that's not your spouse late at night, you get a very comprehensive picture of the person whose data you've collected. And they were collecting that data on every single American on US soil, unbeknownst to not even the people in Congress, with no warrant or supervision at all. That was the program that most bothered Edward Snowden. That was the first one I reported at The Guardian. And that's the one that courts found were both unconstitutional and illegal, which again, you can debate all these other details, but to try and claim that someone's a traitor or that they somehow are unfit to serve in government because they believe in a warrant requirement or think it's a good thing that we found out our government was violating our constitutional rights, that's when I think you see this fanaticism to protect the U.S. security state that's very unhealthy for our democracy.
Meanwhile, it's like you broke trust. He broke trust with the United States. Like, okay, if that's going to be our standard for declaring someone a traitor, Joe Biden is going to have to be accused of being a traitor. I mean, how many lies did he tell? I'm not going to pardon my son. I never did business with my son. Oh, and by the way, I'm totally competent to do the job. Kamala Harris, she's a traitor because she told those same lies and they weren't true. It's like that dictionary definition he pulled up was kind of a trick. It was just sort of a fun parlor trick.
There's only one. Sorry, Megyn. I was just going to say it doesn't much matter because he gets to vote and you and I don't, and he's going to do it behind closed doors, and he's going to probably vote her down. I know she can still head to the floor, but how can she get a vote? I think even the floor vote can be stopped if she doesn't get cloture, if she doesn't get 60 votes for cloture. So I don't know, Glenn. I think that nomination's in trouble. Yeah, me too. And just by the way, the Constitution defines treason, being a traitor. It means aiding and abetting an American enemy in a time of war. That's what treason is. He doesn't charge with treason. But yeah, and also you can pick up the newspaper every day, as you well know, Megyn, and every article begins with, according to classified documents provided by the New York Times, provided to the New York Times. Washington leaks classified documents every single day. People in the highest levels of government
love it
for their own purposes. No one thinks they're a traitor.
Yeah, maybe that could stop if we got somebody at the top of all those agencies who could be trusted to protect Americans' Fourth Amendment rights, to be honest with President Trump about the intelligence assessments that are coming in, and wouldn't be so interested in seeing her information appear in the pages of the Washington Post or in overseeing organizations that have people like that. I mean, what could happen if we tried radical change there too? In the same way we're trying radical change at DOD, and hopefully HHS. Like, that's the point of Tulsi. What we've been doing has led to the collapse in some ways of some of our most fundamental ideals in our country. And people have had it. That's why they elected Trump. He said he was going to put her, at the top of it. It's just, there is a mandate for Trump's nominees. Why can't we just try it? I don't know. Like, they want us to believe we're going to get bombed tomorrow by some terrorist organization because Tulsi said no to FISA, or Tulsi thinks Edward Snowden might not be a traitor. And that's really impugning the woman's integrity as someone who's not a patriot, who doesn't love the country, who won't act in our best interests. And I'll play this one last soundbite, then I'll give it back to you, and then we'll move on to Cash. But here was Tulsi defending some of these attacks in a more sweeping form and as part of her opening statement in SOT 2.
You may hear lies and smears in this hearing that'll challenge my loyalty to and my love for our country. Those who oppose my nomination imply that I am loyal to something or someone other than God, my own conscience, and the Constitution of the United States, accusing me of being Trump's puppet, Putin's puppet, Assad's puppet, a guru's puppet, Modi's puppet, not recognizing the absurdity of simultaneously being the puppet of 5 different puppet masters. The fact is, what truly unsettles my political opponents is I refuse to be their puppet.
That nails it. We continue to face uncertainty when it comes to the economy, with a perfect storm brewing as Social Security and Medicare hit a breaking point as the largest generation is hitting retirement. A smaller workforce means a smaller tax base. You pair that with our growing national debt and the rising cost of living, and we could have a very big problem on our hands. So what are you doing right now to protect your family for the future? Gold can be a very safe haven in very hard economic times, and Birch Gold makes it easy to diversify a portion of your savings into physical gold. Birch Gold will help you transition an existing IRA or 401k in whole or in part into an IRA in gold, and it won't cost you one penny, not one, out of pocket. Protect your future today. Text MK to 989898 and get your free info kit on gold and a copy of The Ultimate Guide for Gold in the Trump Era with a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. There's no obligation, just information. Birch Gold has earned the trust of countless Americans looking to safeguard their savings. Text my initials, MK, to the number 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.